And I just always think about him in his tracksuit.
Also, I feel like I should say that, like, if you ever hear bells, I mean, I know you guys know, but I don't know if everyone else knows that the bell is my cat.
Yeah.
It's a
Just,
little tinkle.
I can't stop her.
Yeah. I try my best to edit that out, but it doesn't always work.
Yeah, she
Um,
she likes to run around my room, and if I don't let her in, then she scratches at the door and makes loud
Yeah, I
noises.
know.
It's just impossible, okay? I would
Yeah.
take the bell off of her, except that I have to know when she's coming because otherwise she will bite me. So,
Yeah.
I was just about to say, mere minutes before my reading tonight, Peppa fucking bit me on the foot so hard I was bleeding during the reading.
nice.
Why is Peppa so terrible? Like,
I
don't
wish I
know.
knew. I really wish
She's
I
a part
knew.
raccoon.
I haven't been giving her chill pills recently, so that might be part of it.
Yeah.
Although you
I don't
say
know,
she's
she's
part
just so
raccoon, I
photogrammatic.
swear she's part possum.
You know what? She's part something rude. What's a
She's
rude
part
animal?
some kind of street animal.
A mean street animal.
Yes.
All right. There's a PowerPoint because even though
We
I
need
had
to do the
zero
introduction.
time. Oh fuck. Okay, sorry.
And I have my mom stories that I would like to share.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Let me listen. No, I'm not even gonna listen to it. I'm gonna try my best. Sorry, everyone who speaks Russian. Okay. Привет. Fuck. Привет. Wait, I'm gonna listen to it. Привет, Привет, друзья. Добро пожаловать в триаду мужики и чувствительные. Yay! Hello. Welcome to the Triad, where we're spooky but sensitive. I'm Hannah.
I'm Shannon.
I'm Shelby.
Yay.
I tried my absolute best. We are not doing Chernobyl today.
No, we're not.
Sorry.
I
But we are doing a Russian thing.
I am saying this purely as someone who studied Slavic linguistics and only took a little bit of Russian and then dropped out of college for 2 years. But your pronunciation sounded great.
Thanks. I actually did study Russian on my own for a long, long time, but
You
I am
did.
so shit at it that it doesn't matter. So. All right. Shannon has some stories. I have asked for stories today because okay, I have a lot to say on this subject. However, there's not a lot of information about this particular, I don't want to say incident, this story that I'm going to tell you in a minute. But Shannon, tell us of
I
your
just
mom.
wanted to. This might be a new thing every week, where I just tell a story about my mother, because I usually have one every week, because I talk to her basically. Oh, I didn't talk to her today. Wait, yes, I did. Who am I kidding? I talked to my mom today. The first one happened today. She asked me, "So are you still doing your podcast?" Because she always says it as if she's saying the wrong word. She's not. And I was like, "Yeah, we are." And she's like, "Well, how many have you done?" And I was like, "We only have one." Because I've noticed people her age don't understand that it's broken into episodes. They think each individual episode is called a podcast.
It's a podcast.
It's really annoying. But I was like,
You gotta
well,
tell them. You gotta say it's like radio. It's like
yeah.
terrestrial radio. It's like, think of like an NPR show. That's what we're doing, but worse and bullshit.
Yeah.
Less professional, okay?
Yeah. But so I was like, "Yeah, Mom, we only do the one." And she goes, "Well, how many episodes then?" And I said, 22, and we're recording the 23rd today. She was like, "Oh, okay, that's good." And I was like, "Yes, it is." But just the whole thing, she was just like, "Your podcasts." And I was like, "Mom, it's not plural."
Just the one there.
Yeah, we only do
Mom.
one. We can't do more than that because our brains will explode.
Oh, speaking of how I portray your mom in my head, which is how I portray all moms as like a Midwestern mom from the 80s, I am cosplaying today as, so I had a reading for, I'm one of the co-hosts of our school's graduate reading series, and I had to be in it today as well as hosting it, so I dressed up because it was like our holiday extravaganza, blah blah blah, and it was like themed, and it was really fun. But I literally put on, I never do this. I put on like big 80s eyes, and I like teased my hair, and I like am wearing crazy dark lipstick, and I was just walking around my house making videos, and I sent you guys one, but I made like 4 or 5, and it was just me like, I put something extra in the eggnog. Santa's little helper, his hand slipped, and it's just like 80s.
See, but
mom.
that is something my mother would say. So
It is.
Yeah.
Dang it, I just realized. Oh no, I didn't mess up. Okay, everyone calm down. I thought I missed a stitch.
Okay, can I tell my other story?
Yes, please.
Okay, so at my mom's office, their IT people, they will sometimes, like, the IT people will send, like, fake phishing emails to people at the company to, like, test them, you know?
LOL.
Which isn't a bad idea, because most of them are
Who's
baby
old?
boomers. Exactly. And Mom usually does really well, but she said that, like, a couple weeks ago she failed hers because it was a $75 coupon for Bed Bath & Beyond.
Okay, but
Mom,
that's fair.
you can't.
That's fair. All of their stuff is so overpriced that I would take that coupon.
Yeah, well,
In a
apparently,
heartbeat.
whenever you open the link, it just brings you to the screen with, like, a frowny face that says you failed. And then
poor
she had to
mother.
watch a video the next day.
Your poor mother.
And she was
That's
like, but
hilarious.
it was $75. And I was like, Mom.
But it was fake!
Think of all the money we could save
Exactly. Well, then
on the
she was
curtains we don't need.
okay, my mom won't even put blinds in the windows. She's not
I
doing
know.
curtains. It
I
drives me
know.
fucking nuts. But yeah, she was just like, I wonder if I purposely fail all of these, if they'll finally fire me. And I was like, Mom, they're not gonna fire you. They're just
Why?
gonna yell at you because
I was
they're
gonna
gonna
say she's the
know.
only one who knows what she's doing anymore.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
Uh,
Speaking of Bed Bath & Beyond, this is not about them. This is about Bath & Body Works. They are not the same store, Shelby.
No, I get them mixed up all the time.
But Bath &
Actually,
Body
her
Works...
coupon may have been for Bath and Body Works. I don't remember. It was one of the two.
You know what? They're both overpriced, so
But
it
I
doesn't
get
really
them
matter.
mixed up. I know.
But, yeah,
You know
Bath
what?
and-
Full offense. There are 2 Bath and Body Works candles on my desk right now.
Okay, I'm not... Okay, look.
They're just a little expansive.
The only reason I'm saying anything
Worth
is
it. They're
because...
so worth it.
No, they're not. Anyway.
Yes, they are!
I was at the mall
I-
today
I'm- you
working,
know what? I'm gonna get-
and Bath & Body Works is right below us, and they're having one of their semi-annual candle sales, so all of their candles were $8,
it's fucking
and
worth
they were
it.
all sold out online, but their line literally snaked around the entire hallway, snaked in front of Starbucks, and then went under the escalators and down the other hallway.
Damn.
People are waiting in line for 3 hours for a candle.
Can I tell you something? And not to be like a capitalist or whatever, but which I'm most certainly not. But
The
I
only
have
way
to
I
say,
get serotonin anymore is buying myself shit, so, like, it's fine.
Same.
Don't worry about it.
I just want to say that their candles are one of the few candles that I can buy that don't give me like a massive headache or stomach ache when I smell them.
That's
Because
fair.
some of I don't know what it is, but some candles that, especially ones that smell like food, literally make me ill. And I
don't
don't
like the food
understand
I
it.
can't have anything that's like too sweet of a scent. It makes me
Exactly.
sick.
However,
I'm also allergic to soy candles, apparently.
you know what's on my
So-
desk? Sweet cinnamon pumpkin. And it was worth every penny.
There you
Because
go.
it
I don't
smells
have a
so
problem
good.
with them as a company, honestly. Like, I know some of the girls who work down there, and like they're great. I just think it's ridiculous to stand in line for 3 hours in the middle of a pandemic for a freaking candle.
Sure, people need to
That
straighten out their
even
priorities.
on sale
I will say
is
that.
still
However,
overpriced.
I love their candles and I can't get enough of them. Also, do I have a pair of scissors on my desk? Yes, I do.
Also,
All
I'm
right.
saying this as someone who currently has like 18 candles sitting on her desk, none of which are
My
from
desk
Bath
is
and Body
literally
Works.
on fire right now, so.
But I don't buy from Bath and Body Works purely because I can't walk in their store without instantly getting a migraine because I am allergic to every form of perfume and smell on the planet. So that's
I
all.
have 6 candles, although if you count my Nikola Tesla votive candle, I have 7, so.
Yeah.
I don't like that one ever, though.
All right, we need to get on with it because
Yes,
one, it's
please.
really late here, and two, I have to get up in the morning and at least be on the road before 8 because we're about to have a fucking nor'easter up here, and that means I'm gonna get 15 inches of snow, but I have to drive to Vermont. So, like,
Yeah.
okay.
Fun.
Anyway. All right. There's
So
a
do you have a
PowerPoint. It's not
PowerPoint?
good. It's mostly
okay.
just big long lists of words. Did
I'm
I? Oh
excited.
shit! What else did I look up? I'll put that other source in later. Oh god. Okay, here we go. Oh, also, I don't know if I already said this. I said this to Shannon. The last thing I ate was like half a bag of Doritos and 2 glasses of eggnog, so I'm feeling great. All right. So today, we are going to talk about the Road of Bones. Now, here are my sources really quick. Whoops. Wick. Russia Beyond. It's Wikipedia.
Yeah.
I left a lot of typos in this just for fun. Because I just don't care.
That's fine.
Russia Beyond. That's a really great website. Actually, I read it all the time. Because I do a lot of research on Russia. Anyway, it doesn't matter. This source called Gulag Online. I highly recommend it. It's so interesting. They have an interactive map where you can go and look at places, or you can follow, like, if they have the documentation on someone, you can follow them through their journey of, like, deportation and imprisonment and stuff. Very cool. Another source that I said I will look up later, it's actually, I will tell it to you right now. It is called, it's a Polish website called Chronicles of Terror.
Alright.
You know, real pleasant. And it just, it's in collaboration with, I think, can you just tell me what this is about? Here we go. Text. Oh, the Hoover Institute. And it is like, it'll either talk about specific places or, specific, like, types of work that people were forced to do. So it explores touching stories of Polish citizens, victims, and witnesses of totalitarian crimes. It's very good if you're into that. My other sources, some prior knowledge that I already had. AKA, I read about it a long time ago and I don't remember where I read it from. And then Rage, because I'm just really mad about everything all the time.
There you go.
Okay, next
Those are good
slide.
sources.
Thank you.
Rage is always a good source.
What do you guys know about Russia, specifically the Soviet era, what does it say? Kali, the Gulag, Sustin.
It
What
doesn't
I
even
meant
say
was,
Soviet. It says Soviet. You didn't even put the T
oh, it
on
does. It says Soviet. Soviet.
No, it
It's a fancy
doesn't.
French word. Okay. Well, what I meant was, what do you know about Russia, specifically
Yes.
the Soviet era, specifically the Gulag system?
I know a lot about.
Shelby's dead because, okay,
I
let me tell you
know.
how I spelled
I'm
specifically
so
both
tired.
ways. The first way is SP. Nope.
Do you want me to do it?
Yep. I'm dyslexic. Can't read.
You put specifically. So it's
Specifically.
SEPCIFICALLY. And then
Yep.
specifically?
Specifically.
I guess? Giggly? I think
There's a lot
would
of
be more
C's.
precise. SPECIGICCALLY. And then instead of system, you put sustain.
Sustin, and I put Soviet.
And you put Soviet. You didn't put the T on Soviet.
Technically it says Sovi, but if we put an accent on the E, it would be Soviet. I like
Yeah.
it that way better. It's a fancy French word. Okay, what do you guys know about all of these things? Ooh.
I
told you I was
honestly-
leaving the typos
Yeah,
in.
I know. I'm glad you did. It's very entertaining.
It's really only for this slide.
Yeah. I honestly don't know too much about Soviet era Russia. Most of my Russian history knowledge is Anastasia specific. To be perfectly honest.
Tsarist Russia.
Yes,
Wait,
I know it
Anastasia, like
is.
the movie?
No, like actual. I know like the actual history of it. Like Jesus.
I was gonna say. Oh, can I tell my fun fact?
Yes.
I don't even
About
know what it
the-
is, but yes.
Oh, you know my fun fact about the Anastasia movie. I
don't
distinctly remember
remember.
telling you.
I'm sure you did, but I don't remember it off the top of my head.
My aunt dated the guy who played
Right.
the singing voice
John
of
Cuse?
Dimitri in the
Right.
singing voice.
I'm
Voice
sorry,
actor
why did no one
in
tell
the
me that?
Anastasia movie.
Why did I not know this?
I don't know, I did.
Because that is my favorite movie of all time.
Me too.
I am obsessed.
Same.
Anyway,
And I might, next time I get a male pet, they are going to be named Dimitri.
there you go.
That's the main character in my novel.
Yes.
I don't want to talk about it.
yeah.
Moving on.
So for Soviet stuff, I know that, obviously I know, like, started with Stalin, you know, I know Chernobyl, which is probably after what you're going to be talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be in 1986.
Yeah,
We are
and I know
talking
that-
about 1923 to
Yeah,
1953.
I know that gulags were basically, like, they weren't concentration camps, they were, like, labor prisons, basically.
Oh, they were definitely concentration
They
camps,
were?
though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just
Okay.
thinking of them in, like, the Holocaust sense, but...
No.
yeah.
Here's okay, and I'm
They're
not
probably more
trying
like
to correct you.
internment camps.
There were a lot of things. They
Yeah.
covered a vast array of different kinds of
Yeah.
inhumanity.
I really, this was not one of my areas in college that I focused on,
and,
so...
and I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to correct you when I say this, but
No,
like
I
a
don't
lot
know.
of Americans, well, not Americans, a lot of Westerners specifically do not know a lot lot about this subject.
Yeah, it just isn't...
It isn't
we
taught,
just don't know
and
it, you know?
yeah, it isn't taught,
We don't get taught
and
it.
like the Russians are not very forthcoming with this information. It's a very
Yeah.
it's like a very embarrassing
weird.
stain on their.
You'd think
It's like
we
us
would
in
learn
Japanese
about their
internment camps.
atrocities, because
Do
we
not
hate
like
Russia.
the commies, okay?
Well, yeah, but you'd think that we would, like, learn about how fucked up they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even now, but we don't.
Well, we didn't have a lot
we
of
just call
documents
them
on it because
communists
everything.
and we move on with our lives. We don't educate ourselves. What are you talking about?
It's just
Okay,
weird.
but you also have to remember that the Soviet Union only collapsed in recent
True.
years, and
Very
they
true.
were censoring everything that was
Yeah.
coming out of there
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
True.
decades and decades and decades. So
Yeah, true.
we don't know a lot about it except for what survivors have to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
You're right.
no, I'm not trying to yell. I'm just,
No.
like I said,
Yeah.
I'm incredibly
know anything.
passionate about this. Actually, let's skip
Yeah.
down to my 6th slide.
Oh, okay.
Just for a minute. It's
Shelby
really
doesn't
just a
get to answer
rant.
The question. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. That's
We'll,
cool.
we're just
Did you
skipping
have a
ahead.
different
We'll go back
answer
to
than
it.
mine?
No, all
Then
of my
okay.
Russian knowledge is either in the linguistic sense or
Then I think we're good.
The
Or
Tsarist
Anastasia.
regime.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so we're done. Let's move on.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to
I'm
those
just being
other.
contrary. Don't mind me.
Okay, so let's talk about gulags for a minute because I need to kill time, and also it is a passion of mine. And I'm just gonna read the slide that I wrote. Passion in the way that
Yeah.
people are passionate about the Holocaust, but not like that I like the Holocaust, but that I'm really interested in it, and I think that people should know what happened so that we don't repeat the past and remember those who suffered. And I'm not one of those quote history buffs who gets off on the idea of man's inhumanity to man. I'm just interested in the morals of the Soviet Union era. Okay, so
I mean, you
Shannon.
basically just explained my interest in the Holocaust and the Salem witch trials,
Yes.
to be perfectly honest.
I know
It's more
but I
of like
want to
a-
make a.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, it's more of like a sociological interest and just more of like a how did we get to this point kind of a thing. Not
Yes.
like a torture porn kind of thing. I'm not into
Exactly.
that at all.
I really would like to separate that fact because I do not in
Yeah.
any way find this find man's inhumanity to man like
No.
interesting. I think that
It's the
and
psychological
this is what I wanted to
and
talk to you about.
sociological aspects of it, where
Yes.
it's more of a I don't understand it, so I want to know more about it, so that
yeah.
I can.
Yeah, like I'm interested in serial killers not because I think serial killers are cool and interesting. I think what they
Yeah.
did is atrocious, and I want to better prepare myself for the when I meet a serial killer or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's
Well,
whatever.
and it's like, at least within the context of serial killers, there's a lot of, from a psychological standpoint, there's a lot of useful information to be gleaned from
Yeah.
researching serial killers, especially with prevention, I guess. Like, there's a lot of
Yeah.
intervening steps that could have been taken with a lot of serial killers that I at least think could have stopped them from doing that. We won't know
yeah,
that
for
unless
sure.
we study them. Whereas with something
sure.
like this,
Basically,
I mean,
our interest in this is not philosophical in any way. It's more just a like, what the heck?
Well, and like I
kids
was
are
just gonna
dumb.
say, like even with stuff with the Trump presidency, like a lot of people compare it to Nazi era Germany, and like we're not
It's-
being facetious when we do that. There were a lot
No.
of things within his regime, for lack of a better word, to be perfectly honest,
I
that
honestly
mirrored Hitler's rise in the Third Reich.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too. Like
it's very authoritarian.
it's very authoritarian. He uses a lot of the same rhetoric when speaking about immigrants that Hitler did when talking about Jews. They're both very fascist governments, whether Trump wants to admit it or not. And like, that's another one of my interests with, like, I'm not a World War II person. I'm a Third Reich person, right? Like, I prefer to
Shannon.
study, like, the governmental, you know what I mean? I prefer to study, like, the
know, just
governmental structure.
rephrase that.
And, like, again,
I'm
like,
a Stalinist.
and like I just like my interest in it is how did we get, because like right before the Third Reich, Germany was one of the most enlightened countries on this planet, and then for them to flip completely just because of Hitler is insane to me.
Yeah.
And so like, and then the Holocaust is a direct byproduct of that regime, so to me it kind of fits hand in hand. I don't care about battles though, so I don't know anything about, well, that's
Oh,
not
yeah,
true.
I know
But,
nothing about.
I don't
See,
know
that's my
anything
thing is, like,
about
in
like,
America we always
the
learn
Pacific
war
Front.
history, and that's all we ever learn.
Yeah,
Is basically
Seriously.
That's not
we learn
useful,
history
though.
based on like this war happened and then this war happened, and in between some stuff might have happened, but it wasn't
Yeah,
important because then
exactly.
They
we moved on to
passed
this
a
next
bill.
war.
Anyway, back to the war. Yeah,
Yeah.
for all of our non-American
hate
listeners,
that.
that is exactly how we are taught in school.
Well,
it is
and-
all based on military history.
and it's wars that we've won.
Yeah.
Yes, we don't
You
ever
know?
really.
Yeah, because we don't learn about Vietnam.
No, we don't.
We don't.
we always just have like, there were lots of protests. It was crazy,
Yeah.
and then you move on.
Like I
Or,
didn't
like,
even.
all the hippies protested it, and then it's just like, but the next president was elected, so yeah.
Yeah, like I didn't
Yep.
even know that Vietnam was basically a proxy war for the Cold War until I
Yeah.
was in college. Like that just
Yep.
wasn't taught. You
Yeah,
know.
that's not a thing that we learn.
Yeah, and I mean,
So.
even then, like within my own history program, like we were kind of limited because the history department at my school was fairly small. Like we didn't have a single professor who taught German history at all. The closest we had was
That's
somebody,
rare.
he taught post World War II Germany, but only like nuclear stuff. He was
Shannon,
That's
weird.
very
I have a
specific.
very important question.
Yeah.
Do you
What?
know how many professors were in your history program? Like the number of professors?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Can you look it up
Yeah, sure. Why?
and then add one?
Why?
Oh, wait, no. Because I want to see what percentage of your history professors were murderers.
Oh, I will do that math for you real quick. He wasn't
Thank you.
technically in my department, I will say.
He was in the history department.
No, he was actually in the like the classics or something. He was not technically in the history department.
Right, he was in the
in
classics because he was in my building.
Yeah, he was
So-
not in my
okay.
department. So, but
Okay,
he did
look up
teach
the
history,
classics.
so like I'll take it.
Okay.
Okay, let me see.
I just really need to know that. That's really
They only have
important.
4 people listed. That's not correct.
That's not true. You have to add in adjuncts and
Well, no, they have it
lecturers.
broken up into different. Like they have U.S. history faculty and world history faculty, and then per course faculty.
Why do they gotta make it complicated?
I don't know. They revamped their whole thing. Either way, it was only one person, so I'm assuming it wasn't that high of a percentage.
We're gonna go with like
No,
one
but,
out
like,
of
Listen,
10
if
to
it's
15.
if it's a low amount of teachers, like if there are
Hang
only
on.
10 teachers,
It
then
wasn't, no,
10%
it's closer
of them
to-
are murderers.
They've gotten a lot more professors, it looks like.
Okay, but like even if there were 20, still 5%
No, there's
of them
way
are
more than
murderers.
that. There's probably just 20 for U.S. history.
Okay, then
And then we still have world history. That's the only thing, though. Like, within U.S. history, it's very limited focuses. You know, it's just, we
You know
didn't
what
have,
it
like,
is?
a
It's
wide array of things being offered.
pre-Civil War history and post-Civil War history.
I mean,
that is exactly how they split it up.
That is how
Yep.
they split it up. Yeah.
That's how they
I
split it
know.
up everywhere. because
I'm saying it's
so-
based on a war.
Yeah.
Literally everything
Um,
is
Alright.
based on a war.
So, anyway, do you guys have any questions about gulags that I can answer for you? Because I didn't really put any notes in here, but, like, this is my entire thesis, so I've done a shit ton of research. Oh, everyone should read the book Gulag by Anne Applebaum. It is so incredible. I wish I could talk to her and ask her questions.
there are 40, I think. I think there's
Okay.
40 professors. I need to do that math real quick because I can't add 26 plus 14 right now. It is 40. So it was 1 out of 40.
So what's that in math?
I don't know. Hang on.
I need a percentage.
That can't
Just
be
put it in
right.
Google. 1 divided by 40.
0.025.
Yeah. Wow,
There
that's
you
a
go.
lot.
Yeah. So
Which is 2.5%.
there you go.
Of
2.5%
the
of our
history
history professors are
Okay.
murderers.
Wow, that's incredible.
Alleged murderers. He still has not been tried.
Allegedly.
Tried yet?
No. I check every now and then.
I thought you were gonna say check every day.
No, I don't check every day. Like every few months I'll remember and then I check. No, he's fighting they're trying to claim an insanity defense because he apparently is schizophrenic. So
Well,
Apparently.
anyway. Let's talk
all right,
about
let's
gulags.
do this. Oh shit! I punched my microphone. All right, we can go back up to slide number 4 unless you guys have any questions. Like
Did
I
we
don't know what I
actually
can't-
explain what a gulag is?
Okay, so yeah, let's just talk about that.
that.
So a gulag, it's actually I'm gonna read right out of, here's another source. I'm gonna read right out of
Yeah,
Anne Applebaum's book,
do that.
Gulag. So this is from Anne Applebaum's book. It's actually a Pulitzer Prize winner, called Gulag, A History. So this is a history of the Gulag, a history of the vast network of labor camps that were once scattered across the length and breadth of the Soviet Union, from the islands of the White Sea to the shores of the Black Sea, from the Arctic Circle to the plains of Central Asia, from Murmansk to Vorkuta to Kazakhstan, from central Moscow to the Leningrad suburbs. Literally, the word Gulag is an acronym meaning Glavnoy Upravilny Lageri, or main camp administration. So basically it just means any kind of camp, but it is also the system of Soviet slave labor in itself, and all of its forms and varieties. So labor camps, punishment camps, criminal and political camps, women's camps, children's camps, and transit camps. So more
And
broadly,
what was that
why did I
last
just
word?
read this? Transit camps. So like
Transit,
the moving
okay.
parts.
Transit, gotcha.
I thought that was an ick,
So-
and I was very confused. I was like, what
Yes,
the fuck is
you
transit?
did not know these words? All right, so Gulag has come to mean the Soviet repressive system itself. So the set of procedures that prisoners once called the meat grinder, the arrests, the interrogations, the transports in unheated cattle cars, the forced labor, the destruction of families, the years spent in exile, and the early and unnecessary deaths. So
All right, then.
that
That's
is
a
what
lot.
a gulag is.
Okay, thank you.
And there were tons of different industries that they use these slave laborers for. I keep saying slave with a B. I mean with a V. So logging, mining, construction, factory work, farming, like airplanes and artillery, literally anything you can think of. I was reading about in one camp they had the elderly making brooms because the elderly couldn't chop down the trees. So they had to make like it was something ridiculous, like 64 brooms a day to meet their norms. And so like if you didn't meet your norms, you didn't eat, and if you didn't eat, you ended up dying.
Yeah.
So any questions on what a gulag is?
No. I didn't
No.
know that it was an acronym.
Yeah,
Yes.
I did not know that.
It
Yeah.
also, so there's also another acronym. I'm not going to be able to find it, but basically it looks like it spells Slan, and it's kind of like a joke in the Soviet era because it's a word that is similar, like, I'm probably getting this incredibly wrong because I read it a long time ago. It basically is like elephant, and they just make fun of it because it's like, oh, the system's so slow, it's like an elephant.
Gotcha.
You know, it's like a Russian joke, so it's not funny. It's just like incredibly depressing. It's like elephant. Haha. Anyway, your brother is
My
dead.
favorite thing when I was taking Russian, because my professor was from Russia, she was from Moscow, and when we were like learning the words for other languages, and she was like, and our word for German literally translates to that language that we do not understand because we hate them because Germans suck. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because Because, Russians love those. Russians, okay, I don't understand how Russians and Germans don't like each other because their languages are very similar in the fact that they have, like, those monster words that they string together that are, like, 17 other words.
Russia,
it's like 17 other words
again.
and, like, 8,000 consonants in one. And
yes, their word for hello starts with, like, 4 consonants.
Well, that's why they, like, well, I don't know why, well, I do know why Russia and Germany don't get along, but
well, yeah,
as far as, like, the languages go, that's why they called it that language we don't understand, because they were like, by all accounts and purposes, it sounds like it should be a Slavic language, and yet it is not. And we don't know what you're saying, but you are making sounds that I should know.
This sounds familiar, like, but who are you? Okay, can we get rid of Craig?
I think we're done with Craig. Okay. I don't think he'll be dipping in and out anymore.
I'm sorry, you guys probably can't hear this, but in the background, Craig is, like, having a tantrum.
Craig is having seizures,
okay? Freaking fired.
Yeah, Craig's mad at everybody, apparently, so he can't decide if he wants to stay or not. But every time he comes back, we get an announcement, which is super fun. He just has to tell us.
I'm back in the studio.
Yeah.
What's up? All right. So, yes, I feel like German and Russian. And I've talked about this before. I definitely write like I'm a German because, well, one, I basically learned language in Germany. But I really like to capitalize things. Like any noun.
You do.
It always feels like it should be big. Why aren't we making things big?
We used to. In English. We don't
I'm
anymore. I don't know why, but we don't. Yeah.
Okay. So, any other questions about the system itself? I mean, they're basically, depending on where you were, it could have been anything from, like, just a labor camp. I don't mean to say, quote, just a labor camp, but I mean, like, you could go there for prison. Yeah. You could go there for prison for, like, committing a crime. So, like, if you murdered someone, you could go to one of these places. Mm-hmm. But you could also go there, like, I think I've talked about this before, this book that I'm reading called Journey into the Whirlwind by Eugenia Semenova Ginsburg. She ended up going to, oh, wait a minute. Did she go? Hold on. Give me 1 second. Well, anyway, she ended up going to one of these prisons because, holy shit, why didn't I read her story? I'm so stupid. I need to, like, finish this book. It's about the place I'm talking about. Anyway, she ended up going to prison, because she didn't speak out about someone. Right, and she was like, I didn't know he committed a crime. And they were like, well, he did, and you should have known. And she was like, okay, can I go home? And they're like, no, you could go to prison for 7 years in the Arctic.
Great.
So anyway.
Cool. Love that.
Soviets are fucking crazy people. It's so ridiculous because depending on what you hear someone say or what you don't hear someone say, you hold all the power. And it's just so dumb. I can't even with it. I'm literally, like, about to burst into tears because I'm so angry. Okay, let's talk about the Kolyama Basin region. All right, so this yellow place on our slide, and for everyone who isn't looking at this picture, it is way the fuck up in the Arctic and almost all the way in the east in Russia. So it's called...
it's actually close to where my sister lives. Not
yeah,
really.
That is true.
Is that Alaska?
That's crazy.
Right there on
that's
the right?
Alaska.
Yeah, that's Alaska.
Yeah. Okay.
Like right across the...
You're all the way east, we're almost in Alaska.
We are so far east, we're almost in the west.
Isn't it weird that Russia's, like, our next closest country after Canada and Mexico? That's so weird. Sorry. That just always, like, blows my mind.
I mean, to be fair, Alaska is kind of its own
is Canada
entity.
light, okay?
No, I know. Well, I mean, and, like, part of it, too, is just the way that we see maps. We're all the way on the left, and then Russia's all the way on the right. But if you look at it like how you're supposed to, it makes sense.
Like, if you look at it as a globe.
Yeah.
That
you know what is a great episode of The West Wing? It's called The Crackpots and These Women. It's in the first season. Everyone should go watch it because there's a part... First of all, Nick Offerman is in it as, like, a hippie, and it's amazing. He's, like, obsessed with wolves. It's great. He's like, this is not a laughing matter. It's beautiful. But it's such a great episode because they talk about... Because they bring up all these things that people don't normally think about because they're talking about, like, the day that they let all the, like, kind of crazy fringe groups in to state their claims. And one of them is like this map company that's saying like we should, in textbooks, we should change how we have the maps drawn because they're not accurate, which is true. Like the map that we use in school is wildly inaccurate, because it doesn't reflect the true size of anything, because the way they set it up was so that the lines across the ocean would be straight and not the lines going up and down. But anyway, they're talking about global north and south, and because that's what we're supposed to use instead of third world, first world country. It's global north and south, because that's how it's set up on the map, and that's how we perceive things. We perceive things that are under us as lower, so that's why we always I'm not saying like I mean like people. Yeah. Some people consider places that are southern, so like Mexico, South America, all these places, as lesser because they are physically south on the map. So they're talking about so like stupid. Yeah, so they're talking about like, okay, so we should use this map because it like is more reflective of what true landmass looks like. And then there's this part where they're like, well, how can we fix global north and south? And they're like, well, like this. And then they click their little clicker and it flips the map upside down. And then everyone in the room is like, what? Like they cannot grasp that, because it's all constructed. Like, we don't have to look at it as we're on top because we're in the north. It could be the other way around. It's crazy. It blew my mind when I saw it the first time. Anyway, everybody should watch it. It's an episode of The West Wing. It's called The Crackpots and These Women. I believe it's in the first season. Anyway, I love that show so much. Let's talk about this this map. I'm just very passionate tonight.
That's fine.
What did you just say?
I said that's fine, but I threw an like an
in
between.
I was like, that's a fine.
That's a fine.
I'm tired, okay?
And it is Italian.
Apparently.
Okay, so let's talk about this basin. So, I'm gonna actually look at the next slide. You guys can stay on this one though. So there was a lot of gold and platinum found in this area, and again, this is the coal. I don't know how to say this. I looked it up. Kolyama Basin. There's no it can't be Kolyama Basin. I don't know.
Kolyma.
Whatever. Kolyma.
I don't know. I'm making that up, but that's what we're gonna go
that
with.
Sounds good. So anyway, there was a lot of gold and platinum found in them there hills. So Stalin was like, you know what we should do with this frozen bullshit up here? Because again, this is in the Arctic Circle. He's like, we should build a bunch, and hear me out, of incredibly dangerous and deadly mines. Wouldn't that be great? We should just kill a bunch of people. Anyway, that's a great idea.
Sounds like Stalin.
So they built a bunch of mines.
A Stalin thing to do.
That's a direct quote. I read it in his biography.
There you go.
So anyway, they built a bunch of mines up there. However, it's in the middle of fucking nowhere. There's nothing up there. It's literally just wilderness and gold and platinum mines. So the Soviet industrial complex was like, you know what? We need to build a road. So
yeah, might be helpful.
Yeah, so they were like, all right, we got to get our supplies up there. We got to get all of our infrastructure built. You can look at the next picture. It's just a picture of like the land area. That's the that might not be the taiga. That might be the that's too far north. I don't know. Anyway, fuck it. So they were like, hey, you know what the best system to build roads is? And you can go to slide number 7. It's slave labor. Woo!
Gosh, I never would have guessed.
Anyway, so these are actual pictures of people working on the road that we are about to talk about. Okay, so before we talk about the road, let's talk about the Kolyama region and how terrible it is. Synonyms. I almost spelled it right. Synonymous. Whatever. It's when you think, and it's not. You can't. None of these things are comparable.
Yeah.
But when you think of this region in Russia for like the labor that the things that they did to people up there, you can think of it as like the Auschwitz of Russia. It was horrible. It was horrifying. It was so awful.
I do want to be nitpicky.
Yes.
So within Auschwitz, so it's Auschwitz-Birkenau is like the technical thing, because there's Auschwitz and then there's also the Birkenau camp. Birkenau was the labor camp. Auschwitz was the death camp.
That's
right?
why I'm saying
So
that, because this is where they sent people to die.
Okay, I just wanted to make that clarification because I wasn't sure if we were going for work camp or death camp, because Auschwitz
I've
was
been
technically
there,
the death camp.
Like, as a small child.
I did not know. Why
Yes, my parents
did
left
your
me in the car.
parents take small... Oh, okay.
Nope.
Take small children to
They like took
Auschwitz.
turns.
Okay.
But I've been outside of the gates. No, they didn't take us in. They were like, just play in the car, take a nap.
I was concerned for a second.
No. But they figured, like, we live here, we should probably check this out.
I would like to go at some point, but we'll see. So, yeah.
So, let us talk about I want to save this. All right, we're going to skip down a little bit.
Okay.
So the reputation of this place is known mostly through two books. One, and you guys may have heard of this one, The Gulag Archipelago by Alexander Solzhenitsyn.
Yep.
Yeah,
I haven't read
that's
it,
like
but
a very,
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's incredibly famous. So he characterized it there as the, quote, pole of cold and cruelty. And then the other book, I have to look it up really quick because I didn't copy and paste it. Is a memoir by... Where he at? Oh, shoot. Should have done this earlier.
Nah.
Varlam Shalamov. In his book called Kolyma Tales. Kolyma Tales. I don't know how to say this. This is stupid. Why do I even try?
Why don't you just look it up real quick?
I did. Google, or,
Did you just forget?
that thing that it's because it's that Russian letter that I don't know how to say. Shelby, that like V one, the one that's
oh god,
I hate it so much. It's two vowel sounds in one.
E.
Yes, it's so hard.
It's so hard.
YouTube told me it's Kolyma, but I don't think that's right.
Kolyma. Yeah,
I mean, it is, but the E is not stressed, so it's...
No, yeah.
It's hard to do as an American, because American English, we naturally put stress on the second syllable, and that's not what it is.
I said that. It's Kolyma. I didn't put the stress on the second syllable.
I know, but the letter you're saying is not accurate.
Gotcha. Okay.
Believe you. I believe that that's the American way to say it, but, like, the letter in Russian does not translate into English.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very hard to say unless you're like very much in a Russian mindset.
Yeah.
Like I can't do it right now because
so
my brain's like,
Kolyma,
that's not a sound that exists.
But it's like I can only say it when I'm saying the word.
You have to. It's like it's
to
saying E, but you're unstressing it and saying it in the back of your throat.
Yeah.
Yuki,
like,
do not touch my microphone.
It's like. It's so hard.
Yeah, it's like
it's really hard. I hate it. No offense to all the Russian speakers have like left the building. Goodbye.
We only ever had one download in Russia. I mean, not that people
other
outside
places
of Russia
speak
can't
Russia.
Speak. I was finishing that sentence.
Other places speak Russia.
That was what I was going to say.
Oh my god. Okay. Anyway.
Did I say speak Russia?
You did.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm gonna go now. Goodbye. It is 10 o'clock here. I go to bed at 9 because I'm old. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the labor camps in the area. So there were actually a lot, and that's something, it's hard to, like I said in the beginning, it's hard to figure out where all of these places are because there's like, nothing is accurate and who fucking knows. But there were a lot of camps up there in that region, just in that like Arctic area. But the one that was the most closely associated with the road that we're going to talk about was called the Northeast Corrective Labor Camp, also called Sevoslag, yeah. So it is about 10,300 kilometers east of Moscow. So literally, that's not even an accurate. How do you even know how far away that is? It's so far away. It's. You know what, I can actually tell you, I think it's 9 time zones away from Moscow.
There you go.
Right. About 9, I think. All right, and it was, And I think earlier I said 1923. I meant 1932.
I have no idea.
Again, my brain can't hold information in the correct order because I'm probably dyslexic. Dyslexic? Wow. Goodbye. Goodbye. This has been fun. I'm ending the podcast. Okay. So anyway, Sevoslag was in operation between 1932 and 1952. The maximum number of prisoners, meaning like the number of people who were there at one time, was 190,000.
Jesus Christ.
I know.
So many fucking people.
Yes. So it was this place was used as mostly a gold mine and a tin mine, but then also they were used to build the infrastructure to get to those mines. So like I said earlier, and the climate was horrendous, which we will talk about in a moment. So it was run by this thing called the Dalstroy. Did someone just call me? No. Okay. So technically the Dalstroy was not part of the gulag, but it was, oh, I just had this up a minute ago. Dang it. Okay, so it was the agency that was created to manage the exploitation of that region. So the what did we say? Colima area, and principally on the use of forced labor. So they were like this outside, basically they were like contractors who came in and were like, yeah, we'll make you slaves. Here we go. Load them up.
So like Volkswagen and IBM during World War II.
Sure. Yeah, pretty much exactly that. And if you don't know what we're talking about, look it up.
Yeah.
That just made me sick a little bit. Okay, so... So they used, did I put it in here? Let's see. Oh yeah, I did. Okay, yeah, we can go to the next slide. So that's a car on, or not a car, like a truck, I guess, on the road itself, when it is being built, and you can see all the supplies on there. Mm-hmm. All right, so to make access easier to the mines, they had to build infrastructure. So this included railroads and the road itself, and they built more than 3,000 kilometers of roads and more than yes, so the road that we're talking about is this 1,864 mile route from the city of Magadan to Yakutsk, and this is it's technically called the Kolyma track, but it is nicknamed the Road of Bones, and we're going to talk about why. So, the Dalstroy, those dumb bitches who came in, were like, yeah, we'll just use people from I keep putting a V in the front because my cousin always talks about this boy she went to school with named Svetoslav, and I just always think about him in his tracksuit. Anyway, so, well, he, trying to be cool in America, wears his tracksuit. Okay, Sevoslag, there's a T in there that I keep missing because I have a lisp. It's really hard for me. So the Sevoslag labor camp, they were like, get in the truck. Well, no, there wasn't even a truck. We're going to build the road to put the truck on to bring you to the place where we want you to build things.
Yo, so my cat just knocked down the Christmas decorations from our banister, so...
What? A jerk.
You're gonna hear that in the recording, Shannon.
Cool.
Sorry.
Beautiful. I did hear it. All right.
Yep, it was
so
a
the
snowman.
temperatures.
Snow dead.
Let's talk about snow. Segue. Here we go. The average temperature in January was negative 50 degrees Celsius. That's like negative 56 Fahrenheit, I think. But that is the average.
We had that wind chill one time here. That was fun.
One time.
Yeah, I know. One time.
Every
and I
day,
didn't go outside.
and you have to build a road.
Yeah.
and let's continue with that. Okay, so people did not have accurate what? I was trying to say accurate and adequate clothing. I don't know about this place specifically, but I can tell you based on my other readings, especially of the Camp Ivdelog, which is in the it's in the Ural Mountains. Anyway, so people would wear things called like a bushlot, and Shannon, I was just laughing with you about this earlier because Polish people spell things weird. It looked like bushwort. Anyway, so they wore this thing called a bushlot, and it was just like a thin cotton jacket filled with like some padding, and they were like, go out in the wind chill and have fun. Mm-hmm. That was if they did have a coat. Otherwise, you would just wear what you showed up to the camp in.
What would the wind chill be? Oh God!
I don't even.
Like if it's already negative 56, what would the wind chill be?
I know there's these kind of storms. Let me tell you what they're called. Actually, I think it's in this book. Anyway, there were these kinds of winds, especially in like either the Arctic region. I can't find it. I forget. They had a cool name though. In the Arctic region or the mountainous regions, that literally these winds were so intense that if you were not lying down on the ground, you would blow away. Especially if you're a starved prisoner of whatever. It could be for anything. So yeah, the wind chill had to be insane, is what I'm getting at. Oh, and also people didn't really have shoes. You would be given like these felt shoes. And then a lot of people would make like bast shoes, which is like a kind of, it's basically like a rope fiber shoe, and then like melt tar on it so that they could have a little bit more protection. And like everyone had frostbite all the time. And the medical care there was, just kidding, there was none. So like good luck with no fingers.
That frostbite in your toes hurts like heck. And I only had the first stages of it, but it hurts for the rest of your life. Forever.
Yeah, can you imagine your whole everything? Because you might have a hat. You definitely don't have anything to cover your face with. The tip of your nose probably fell off.
Your nose, your ears,
your
fingers, your toes,
your lips,
everything.
your eyelids. Anyway, so there was no medical assistance, like I said. That sucks. Get your shovel and get back to work. Did I imply that you had tools? Just kidding. Dig with your hands or a scrap of wood. That's right. They had no tools. They were like, build this with... Some people did have tools, but they were like so shitty and like third hand and horrible. And like, really, it was just them digging with basically spoons.
So
wow,
in addition
you can't
to
work
it
because
being fucking freezing, you also have to dig in ground that is also fucking freezing.
Oh, we're gonna talk about the permafrost in a minute.
They're digging in
worry.
which is literally
don't you worry.
Yeah.
One, disease ridden, and two, like, you can't dig in that.
No, it's
especially
frozen.
not with your non-existent stubs on your fingers.
Yeah, seriously. Okay, go back and look at these people. That was probably in like, they're standing in water. And if you got wet, which was very likely for projects like this might actually be them building a dam. I think this is a lie. Anyway, it doesn't matter. If you got wet in any way, you would have to go to sleep with those frozen mittens or frozen pants or whatever, and they would never unfreeze until the spring, because even in your barracks, you were likely to not have heat, and you didn't have bedding. There was no bedding. You just slept on a plank called I do have that right here, a wooden plank called a Sploznia neri. It was a long, unseparated wooden plank bed, a sleeping shelf, on which many prisoners slept at once. Okay, so what happens if you did die? Okay, so you probably would either starve to death, or there were a lot of instances of the guards, which are called Nazdur... Oh, I always spell this wrong. I can never type it in my Word documents. Where are they? Nadziratel. So the Nadzirateli would come up and shoot you in the head if you were not completing your work norms, or if you were kind of like a burden, or just like they didn't really care about the way that you spoke to them earlier, and that was it, and you were dead. And then you know what they did, because it was so hard to dig in that permafrost?
Probably just left you there.
They just put you right where they had already dug.
Right where they already digged.
Or they already digged. Oh my god, I have to tell a quick story. This has nothing to do with a concentration camp, but one time when Kim was little, we all went camping. Kim is my sister, my youngest sister. She was probably, let me think, she was probably 6, so she was in kindergarten. And Emma, Kim, and I were in a tent together, and then my mom, dad, Millie, and Lucy were in a different tent, because we can't fit in one. we're too big. So Kim was telling us, we were like, Kim, tell us a scary story, because we're camping. She was like, okay, here it is. And this tiny kindergartner is like, she's telling that story that's from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, but it's like she heard it third hand from someone who heard it second hand, and it was just like so bad. It was like, this telling was horrible. So she's trying to be really dramatic with the way she was telling about the kid. It's the one where the person finds a toe when they're digging. You know that one?
I didn't really
Did
read
you guys
those,
ever read that
shockingly
book?
enough. So I did, but I don't remember the stories
Okay,
that well.
there's
'cause I
this
didn't read
story
them that
where this
closely.
kid digs up a toe.
Okay.
And it's spooky. So anyway, Kim's trying to be real dramatic with her storytelling, and she's like, she's holding the flashlight under her face and everything, like it's very this is very like campy, no pun intended. And she's like, she goes, and he digged, and he digged, and he dug. We were like, perfect, love it, great, good job. Anyway, so like I said, if you died, which was more likely than you leaving that place, they would just put you right under the road construction that they already had finished, or were like, whatever. I don't know how roads work, but like, they would put you under it.
They would just pave over you, basically.
Yes. So, like I said, prisoners spent 20 years building this road, so from 32 to 52. Then after...
They spent that whole time building that damn road?
Shannon, it was
It's a long-ass
50.
road, and it's a really long road.
One,
I forgot.
it's really long.
I know,
2,
I forgot.
They had sticks.
The ground
3,
was frozen.
it was cold.
I just kind of assumed that they had completed that sooner and then did other things, because that's more efficient. But...
Can I tell you what the norm is for completing your day's work in a gulag? What, like, your pay is?
Well, I mean, you're not getting
is...
paid.
No. Pay is in quotation marks. It is 300 grams of bread, which is about 7 slices, and then maybe a half a cup of soup.
No, I know.
That's it.
I kind of, like, forgot what we were
starting.
talking about for a minute. I was like, that's all they did! But, like, that makes sense.
Also, their workforce, like, kept dying.
I'm tired, okay?
And also, everyone was vitamin deficient, so a lot of people were blind at night because they didn't have any vitamin A. Mm-hmm. Everyone had scurvy.
They all had scurvy.
Come at me. They all definitely did have scurvy.
Yeah.
Nobody had teeth. Everyone had frostbite. Mm-hmm. It was a bad time.
Yeah.
Capital
I
B.
can't make, like, factual connections right now, so to me, that statement was made separately from everything else we just talked about.
Yes.
This is what happens when I don't get enough sleep, so.
I swear I wrote this number down. Oh my god. Oh my god, I'm throwing up. I'm gonna die. Okay, so the estimated death toll on this road is anywhere from 250,000 to 1 million people that died in the construction of this
wide
road.
range.
Well,
I know. I'm just like,
Shannon,
I know.
go to Moscow and ask Putin why the fuck
I
he didn't keep the
know. I
records.
do not need you to explain this to me. I know. I am just saying it is a wide range. I know.
Yes. That's
I
like
know.
how they tabulated who died in Chernobyl, because the Russians were like, well, technically only 3 people died in the explosion.
Exactly.
So, I mean, we're going to
Yeah.
say 3 people died.
Yeah.
But then everyone else died of cancer.
Yeah.
Okay.
But those people
So-
don't count. What are you talking about?
Lots of people died. All right, let's talk about The road. Okay, so like I said, the reason it's called the Road of Bones is because everyone who did die, so up to 1 million people, are just buried beneath the structure of the road itself. So the road today is still in use. However, up until like 2008, it was abandoned. I think it's just because of the location. There's like really nothing up there. And now it is, quote, an all-weather road, which basically just means that they plow it every once in a while, and it's made out of gravel. So, I mean, whatever. And it's called the coldest road because it is close to the coldest inhabited town in the world, which I did not write down. Starts with an O. Find it yourself. Finally, there is a church called the one that's in that slide, but now I wanted to see where it is exactly, because why would I have put that in there? Whatever. Alright. Beep, beep, beep. Back to my slides. Alright, so it's the Church of the Nativity, and in some of their icons, and it's actually a Catholic church. I thought it was going to be a Russian Orthodox church. It's not. It's a Catholic church. But why do they have a Russian Orthodox cross in this picture? Whatever. It doesn't matter. Anyway. So they have a chapel. Well, okay, first of all, they memorialize a lot of the victims in their icons. So this might not actually be the one that they were talking about. But their website, I'm going to read you some things from their website. But it is, before that, the church is closely linked to the labor camps and those who died there. And the artist who created some of these icons, her name is Svetlana Ryansyna. She's from Moscow. And there's a chapel there called the New Martyrs of Russia and the Martyrs of Kolyma. And here's what their website says. This chapel is built on a memorial wall bearing small metal crosses representing individual souls that were sacrificed by the atheist state. If you have a loved one who died during the communist repression in the Kolyma region or anywhere from the Soviet Union and would like their name to be added to the long list being prayed for here, please send us the name and a short biography of the individual to the address indicated on the back. So then what they do is I'll show you guys this cross. It's really, really cool. Or this memorial. It looks like a bunch of stones. It's pretty cool. And then finally, the donations that if you do donate to this church, if you're into that, they minister to the remaining survivors, because you have to understand that people were in gulags up until I want to say that I watched a documentary that had a quote unquote gulag in the 2000s, but I feel like they officially stopped doing it in the 80s or 90s. But anyway, that's all I got for you. As far as we know. Oh yeah, I'm sure there's some bad stuff happening out in Siberia. So, thoughts?
I mean,
Comments?
It's not great. I'm tired.
No, it's not.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like we said at the very top, I didn't know. I knew that this was a system of prisons that was similar to concentration camps, and that was it. So all of this was new information to me.
And this is just one tiny part of this. There are so many
I feel like that needs
other
to be
horrors.
Emphasized that this was just one small, comparatively, incident, because, I do know that under Stalin, what's the estimated death toll under Stalin? Do we even have one?
Oh my god, so many.
So many.
Well, okay, you really, okay, this is going to be hard to explain, but you really have to pick, a demographic.
No, I know.
To find that information.
Or,
because
even just with, the famines, that's going to have a different...
The Holodomor?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that shit was crazy.
So,
it's all gonna...
Apparently this is a thing that people have done, but they estimate that Hitler was responsible for between 11 and 12 million non-combatant deaths.
Yeah.
So that means... Yeah.
So not war related.
Yeah. That sounds about accurate. from what
while
I know.
Stalin was responsible for at least 6 million and as many as 9 million.
That's not right.
That's not
That's
accurate.
not right.
I don't believe that for a second.
I thought it was somewhere in like the 25 million range.
Well,
That
here,
sounds
this is
more
the full
accurate.
quote.
Yeah.
Okay. So, while Stalin was responsible for at least 6 million and as many as 9 million if foreseeables in quotes, caused by deportation, starvation, and incarceration in concentration camps are included. I did not click on the full article.
I
I'm
just
literally
looked-
reading the snippet
Yeah,
Google gave me.
I googled deaths attributed to Stalin. The first hit is a New York Times article from 1989, and they're guessing about 20 million.
Yeah, that sounds more
That
accurate.
sounds
because
more
you have to
accurate,
think he
yeah.
basically starved out all of Ukraine. He deported all the Poles to Siberia. There's literally a word in Polish for you being deported to Siberia, and that's your life
There
now.
is a separate Wikipedia article. It's excess mortality in the Soviet Union under Joseph Stalin. And it breaks down. It's broken down by event. So there's gulags, the famine.
Yes, that's the thing.
Judicial
That's what I was trying to say, the
execution, a
events.
different famine, because there were 2 different famines, and then population transfer, and then is it Katyn massacre? I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
Oh.
Katyn massacre.
Yeah, it's
It's,
Polish, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
So-
basically, can I tell you what that is?
Yeah, sure.
They went to this prison camp where they had all these Poles, and they walked in
my God.
with their machine guns and just shot everyone in the
Jesus.
barracks. It
The
was
further I
horrifying.
scroll down, because I just Googled, like, death toll under Stalin.
Yeah.
And the further I scroll down, the higher the number gets.
Yeah.
Like, literally, this one says 20 million, and then it says 40 million, and then it says 60 million.
we have no way of knowing. You know, I mean.
No, he was a fucking monster.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I think,
And-
because, earlier I kept saying, like, those comments, like, that seems odd that they would have these numbers or whatever. I'm comparing it to Germany, because Germany kept records of everything.
Oh yeah, Germany
Yeah.
loved records,
We
while Russia
know
was like, bury that shit.
everything that they did. We know all of it because they kept records of literally everything, and they didn't
Yeah.
'Cause
destroy
they were
them.
so meticulous.
Yeah, they were so
No,
meticulous.
the Russians were
and they
like,
didn't
don't even
destroy
write it
them.
down, who cares?
Yeah, and so, like, in my head, I just kind of assumed that was also done here. Obviously, I was incorrect in that assumption. But that's just, like, the framework I'm working with was, Germany, they recorded fucking everything.
Do you know why they deported so many people and how they got people
I
to
wanna see what
go to
this one
prison
is.
camps?
No, what they do.
A lot of times it would just be like, oh, sign this piece of paper and we'll let you out. And they didn't speak Russian, so it'd be like
yeah.
a Pole or someone, and
Yeah.
they would read it, and they would just sign their name, and they're like, okay, bye, you're going to Siberia.
Yeah. Jesus.
And it was horrible. It was so horrible. Ugh, it's all horrible, and I'm so upset by it.
Yeah.
Which is why I think I'm so drawn to it, because I want to heal the people who this affected, but they're all like dead or like completely fucked up, and it's so, I don't know. It's just such a dark time.
Yeah. Ugh.
Anyway.
I have to say, I wouldn't mind if we revisited this topic at some point with a different event.
Oh, sure. That was just that road, and there's literally like no information about it, so that's why I had you guys chit-chatting about other things.
Yeah.
I can talk to you about this for hours.
No, I know.
I am so
Yeah.
into it.
Like, even if it's
I
just
literally have my notebook open right now to
Well, I mean, at some point, I want to cover, like, Tsarist Russia as well.
okay, you do the Tsarist
Or
era.
maybe just Anastasia. We'll see.
even with Tsarist Russia, that's hundreds of years.
That's
of-
so
Yeah,
long.
yeah,
You gotta
yeah.
start in Kiev.
So, like,
You gotta pick
but
one.
also, like,
you
yeah.
can do the Romanovs. It's
Yeah.
still a couple hundred years, but
Yeah,
whatever.
that is still a couple
Yeah.
hundred years.
It is.
It's
it
less
really
than
is.
Yeah.
like a lot.
I might also do Queen Victoria at some point because I know so
God,
much
that
about her
bitch.
because I had
Yeah.
to do a year-long project on her, but
Shelby, there's
also
a
she's just cool.
there's a You're Wrong About episode about Anastasia, and they have a guest on. Crap, I don't remember the name of her podcast, but she focuses on, like, infamous royalty and how they really shouldn't be infamous because it's mostly women who were, like, beat down by the patriarchy. Anyway,
Yeah.
they had it was such a good episode. It was mostly on, like, their capture and death, which is, like, really depressing, but
Yeah.
it's
The way
really
the
interesting.
Romanovs died.
It's so sad.
So sad.
Did you know that in the Eastern Orthodox Church they are they can't be. I don't know how they phrase this, but basically they are quote. They're almost canonized. They're quote. How did they phrase it? It was like Christian martyrs of the revolution. Christian martyrs of the revolution.
Gotcha.
That's what they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am so excited about Russia all the time. Like,
Amazing.
I could talk about this for days.
Russia was my first love. Japan was my second.
I can send you guys the first, like, I don't know, 20... it's probably more like 40 pages of my thesis if you want to read it. It's really sad. It's about a gulag. It's tragic.
Yeah.
Look, I had to read my sister's thesis on eugenics in the post-World War era. So
Ooh, that's rough.
it was a good time.
I took 2 classes on the Holocaust in college. Like, it's fine, guys.
I do this shit to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. I do this to myself. They're really interesting classes, though.
I mean, they are. Well, see, because my sister's was because she had to write a thesis, but it was for her history degree, but she also majored in biology and in Japanese. And so she wanted to combine all 3 of her studies, and she was like, well, Japan studied eugenics after World War II, so that's historical, and it's Japanese, and it's science. And I was like, Jessica, I hate you so much, but I also love you.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is such a niche topic, but it's so interesting. But basically she, like, compared the way that, like, eugenics was in the Western and the Eastern cultures, and, like, kind of how it caused the war and the after effects of all of that and blah, blah, blah. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It was very interesting. I read it at 3 a.m. while doing my laundry in my freshman dorm of college because she had it due the next day. Because, as she does with everything, she wrote it very last minute, all 50 pages. And it was the greatest thesis they had ever read.
That's how I like to work.
Yeah.
That is my sister.
I turned in my chapter. It was due Sunday. I turned it in Monday at midnight.
Yep.
And I was like, I'm so sorry. This is such garbage. I hate myself. And then everyone was like, this is the best thing I've ever read. And I was like, okay, well, I don't understand. I guess I have no gauge of what's good because I hate myself.
That's
I would like
the
to read this really
anxiety
quick.
speaking.
Okay. Are we done? Can we end?
Can I read this thing
Yes.
really quick? Okay. This is again from the Gulag book, and it talks about your Nazis, Shannon, and I think it's very
My
interesting.
Nazis, thank you. I needed that.
You're welcome. Yep, your friends there.
Oh, God.
Your buddies. Okay. As far as I have been able to ascertain, this particular form of murder, which is they're talking about Auschwitz, practice at the height of the Holocaust had no Soviet equivalent. True, the Soviet Union found other ways to mass murder hundreds of thousands of citizens. Usually they were driven into the forest at night, lined up, shot in the skull, and buried in mass graves before they ever got near a concentration camp. A form of murder no less, quote, industrialized and anonymous than used by the Nazis. For that matter, there are stories of Soviet secret police using exhaust fumes, a primitive form of gas, to kill prisoners, just as the Nazis did in their early years. Within the Gulag, Soviet prisoners also died, usually no thanks to the captors' efficiency, but due to gross inefficiency and neglect.
Mm-hmm.
In certain Soviet camps at certain times, deaths were virtually guaranteed for those selected to cut trees in the winter forest or to work in the worst of the Kolyma gold mines, so the mines we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Prisoners were also locked in punishment cells until they died of cold and starvation, left untreated in unheated hospitals, or simply shot at will for, quote, attempted escape. Nevertheless, the Soviet camp system as a whole was not deliberately organized to mass-produce corpses, even at times it did. Mm-hmm. Even if, at times, it did. So basically, I don't know. I just can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all bad. It's all
Basically, there's no humanity involved.
No. But I read that because I wanted to say that I'm not, again, none of these things are comparable, but just saying that it was a different way to destroy people that you considered undesirable in some way. So, like, the Soviets didn't care if you were, like, Jewish or Christian or Muslim or whatever. They just cared that you were against their ideas, and you weren't allowed to have any sort of existentialism that was your own. You had to conform or be killed. And I'm not saying that, like, communists are bad, because I have friends who are communists. What I'm saying is the reign of Stalin and Stalinism is bad.
Yes, for sure.
We should not.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I was going to say, like, the ideology on its own is not the issue.
Communism is one of those things, this is just my own personal opinion. It sounds good on paper. In practice, doesn't work that well. Yeah.
It works well on a small scale, but when you apply it to an entire country, it does not work.
Yeah. And by small,
an entire
like
continent.
a household.
It requires people to forego their human nature.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's what a lot of this is. And
human nature is selfish because that's how you survive.
Yeah, it's... Anyway, barf. I hate it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll research another one if you want to go back to this.
You don't have to. Just I would be interested in learning more.
I want to talk about it. I am so interested.
And I know that's the
this
thing.
Like,
I know that you want to talk about it, so I would like to, for you to be able to do that.
It's not that I like talking about it. Again, this is just like my therapy where I can talk about my issues, and my issue is Stalinism.
Yeah.
I don't have anxiety. I have Stalinism.
Hannah has 99 problems, and all of them are Stalin.
And all of them are named Joseph Stalin. Anyway, that's all.
Okay. We still didn't do the ending because we suck.
Alexis gave us suggestions, and we were like, "Those are good ideas, but we're not gonna do them."
Well, it's not that we're not gonna do them. We just haven't talked about it. We keep forgetting to talk about it.
Yeah, we haven't had a meeting.
Yeah. We don't have time.
Okay, well, here's what I'll say to close it off.
But also, thank you, Alexis, for giving suggestions. You're the real MVP here.
Alexis from the Wine and Weirdos podcast.
Yes, her. Shout out to them.
Still our only patron.
Yep.
But they're great.
Yes. Yes.
Anyway, gulags are bad. Don't be a Stalinist. Okay, that's all I got.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks for listening to The Triad. Our music is by Scott Buckley. Our audio is recorded by our sound engineers, Craig Bott and Audrey Credo.
If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Tumblr as The Triad Podcast. Our website is thetriadpodcast.wordpress.com. There, you can find information about our latest episode, including the show notes and sources.
We're also on Patreon as The Triad. Currently, all Patreon funds will go towards the cost of hosting the show. Each tier has its own rewards, but every patron receives our undying gratitude. Do you have comments, questions, or stories? Email us at thetriadpod@gmail.com. And thank you again for listening to The Triad, where we're spooky, but sensitive.